The Zelveri Queen's claws scraped against the obsidian throne as Dr. Sarah Chen's escort stopped 3 meters from the dais. Sarah didn't bow. The cultural briefing had been clear. Eye contact meant respect. Submission meant weakness. The Queen's silver eyes, each the size of Sarah's fist, fixed on her with an intensity that made her pulse hammer against her throat. "You are the geneticist." The Queen's voice resonated through the chamber, a sound like wind through canyon walls. Not a question, an assessment. "I am." Sarah kept her voice steady. Around them, 12 royal guards stood motionless in their ceremonial armor, but she'd counted the weapons. Plasma lances, neural disruptors. Enough firepower to level a city block. The Queen's neck frill expanded, deep purple bleeding into crimson. Sarah's xenobiology training kicked in. Stress coloration, anger or fear, possibly both. "My daughter will die without an heir. 12 cycles of failed conception. The royal physicians call her Shavek, Barren." The word came out like a curse. "You will fix this or you will not leave this world." Not a job offer, a hostage situation wrapped in diplomatic protocol. "I need to examine her. Full genetic workup, hormone panels, reproductive tissue samples." "No." The Queen rose, her 3-meter frame unfolding with predatory grace. "You will meet her first. You will understand what you are saving before I allow you to touch her." A door Sarah hadn't noticed opened in the seamless black wall. A younger Zelveri emerged, her scales duller than her mother's, her movements careful, almost fragile. Princess Calvora. The briefing had shown her image, but photos hadn't captured the way she held herself, like something already broken, trying not to shatter further. "Mother, this is unnecessary. Silence." The Queen's frill flattened. "She needs to see you, to know you are worth saving." Calvora's gaze met Sarah's, and something passed between them. Recognition, maybe. The specific loneliness of being reduced to biology. To failure. "Walk with me," Calvora said quietly. Not a command, a plea. Sarah followed her through corridors that curved like the inside of a shell, away from the throne room and its suffocating weight. The guards' footsteps echoed behind them, close enough to intervene, far enough to pretend privacy existed. "You didn't choose this assignment," Calvora said. "No." "Neither did I." The princess stopped at a window overlooking gardens that glowed with bioluminescent flora. 12 failures. 12 times I've disappointed my bloodline. "Do you know what happens to a Zelveri royal line without heirs?" Sarah thought of the history files, civil wars, planetary destabilization, entire star systems thrown into chaos. Your physicians, have they tried hormone synchronization, genetic compatibility screening with potential mates? 17 mates, all genetically perfect. All failed. She touched the window, her reflection ghostly in the glass. "They say I'm cursed, that the gods have marked my line for extinction. The gods didn't write your genome." Sarah stepped closer. "But someone did, and if it's written, it can be read. If it can be read, it can be understood, maybe changed. Humans and their optimism." But Calvora's frill showed the faintest shimmer of yellow. "Hope," the briefing had said. "Dangerous and rare. What if you fail?" "Then we fail together." Sarah met her eyes. "But I don't plan on failing." Then she pressed her palm against a biometric scanner hidden in the wall. A section slid open, revealing a small laboratory. Outdated by human standards, but functional. "My private research space. Mother doesn't know." Calvora moved to a storage unit, extracting a data crystal. "I've documented everything. Every failed attempt, every test, every hormone fluctuation." She held it out. "The physicians think I'm too emotional to understand science. They're wrong. This wasn't just data. It was trust. You've been experimenting on yourself, trying to find answers they refused to seek." Calvora's voice hardened. "They declared me barren after the 5th failure. Everything after was just ceremony, waiting for me to accept their verdict. Show me your latest hormone panel." Calvora pulled up holographic displays. Sarah's mind raced through the numbers, pattern recognition kicking in. There, a spike in progalactic enzyme levels during ovulation. And there, cellular degradation in the uterine lining, but not uniform. Patchy, almost like an autoimmune response. "Your body's attacking the implantation sites." "That's impossible. The scans looked for structural damage." "They weren't checking for immune cascade reactions. Sarah's excitement built. Your body thinks pregnancy is an invasion, destroying embryos before they can establish. Kelvora's frills cycled through 3 colors: confusion, disbelief, hope. Can you prove it? Give me a tissue sample, 48 hours. I'll show you exactly what's happening. The princess reached for a medical kit without hesitation, preparing the extraction tools with practiced efficiency. This wasn't her first time doing her own blood work. If you're right, Kelvora said softly, if this can be fixed, one step at a time. But Sarah understood the weight behind those words. Not just personal redemption, political stability, the fate of billions. The sample collection took 12 minutes. Sarah sealed the vials, already mentally designing the test protocol. Behind them, a guard shifted position, the first movement any of them had made since entering the lab. The Queen will expect a report tomorrow, the guard said. She'll get one in 2 days. Sarah didn't look up from labeling the samples. Science doesn't run on royal schedules. Kelvora stepped between them, her posture suddenly regal, commanding. Dr. Chen works on her own timeline. Tell my mother, her voice carried absolute authority, or tell her nothing. Your choice. He stepped back. Sarah caught Kelvora's gaze. The princess's frill showed deep blue. Determination. They had 2 days to find a miracle, or become the failure everyone expected. Sarah activated the portable sequencer she'd brought from Earth, its quiet hum filling the lab. The real work was about to begin. The analysis took 37 hours. Sarah slept in 4-hour shifts on the lab floor while enzymes broke down Kelvora's genetic material into readable sequences. The princess brought food, strange fruits that tasted like copper and starlight, and watched the process with hungry eyes. Tell me what you're seeing, Kelvora said during hour 23. Sarah adjusted the holographic display, highlighting the specific gene cluster. Your immune system has a hypersensitivity to foreign cellular markers. Normally, pregnancy triggers immune suppression in this region, she pointed to the cascade pathway. Yours triggers amplification instead. Your body sees embryonic cells and declares war. Why didn't the physicians find this? Structural problems, hormonal imbalances, classic infertility markers. Sarah pulled up comparative data from the Zelveri medical database, but this is subtle. It only activates during implantation. Before that, everything looks normal. Kelvora's claws tapped against the console. Can it be fixed? Theoretically, yes. We'd need to suppress this specific immune pathway during the implantation window. Targeted immunosuppressants, carefully timed. Sarah ran calculations. But I'd need to synthesize compounds your biology can tolerate. Test them. The timeline alone. How long? 6 months minimum. Maybe a year.
The princess's frill darkened to near black.
I don't have a year. The succession council meets in 4 months. If I can't prove fertility by then, my cousin Felvek inherits. He'll start a war with the Centauri colonies within a year of taking power. Sarah felt the weight of politics crushing down on medical reality. I can't compromise the science. If we rush this, if something goes wrong, then I die childless and millions die in war. Kelvora turned away from the displays. Those are the options. Silence filled the lab. Outside, 3 moons rose over the alien landscape, their light painting the room in shades of silver and amber. There might be another way. Sarah pulled up human fertility treatment protocols. On Earth, we use surrogate carriers when the biological mother can't sustain pregnancy. Someone else carries the child to term. Zelveri genetics don't work like that. The embryo requires constant chemical exchange with the birth mother. Different carrier, different chemistry. The fetus dies. Unless we can replicate your exact biochemistry in someone whose immune system won't attack the embryo. Sarah's mind raced. Someone whose body wouldn't recognize Zelveri cells as foreign because they're not Zelveri themselves. Kelvora's eyes widened. You're suggesting me. The words came out before Sarah could second-guess them. Human immune systems are adaptable. We're generalists. We've carried cloned embryos, genetically modified fetuses, even experimental chimeric organisms in clinical trials. If we can trick my body into reading your embryo's chemical signals correctly, that's insane. Cross-species gestation has never been attempted. Neither has targeted immune suppression for Zelveri fertility. We're already in uncharted territory. Sarah brought up her own genetic profile alongside Kelvora's. Look at the protein folding similarities. Look at the hormone receptor compatibility. It's not perfect, but it's closer than you'd think. The princess studied the data, her frills cycling through colors too fast to read. Even if it worked, the physical toll on your body. I've done the math. Zelveri gestation is 6 months. The fetus reaches roughly human newborn size at term. It's not outside the parameters of human pregnancy. Sarah met her gaze. I'm not saying it's risk-free, but it's faster than developing immunosuppressants from scratch. And it might actually work. My mother would never allow it. She doesn't care about methodology. Sarah saved the data to a secure partition. We present this as a done deal. Here's the science, here's the proof of concept, here's the timeline. 4 months from now, you have a viable heir. No war. No succession crisis. Calvora was quiet for a long moment. You do this? Risk your life for a species you barely understand. Sarah thought about her own family. Her sister's 3 miscarriages before finally carrying a baby to term. The grief that had carved out pieces of her. The joy when her nephew finally arrived, small and perfect and alive. I became a geneticist because I believe everyone deserves the chance to be a parent. She kept her voice steady. That doesn't change because you have scales instead of skin. If this fails, if you die, then you find another way. But I don't think it'll fail. Sarah pulled up the simulation she'd been running. I think it'll work. A guard's voice. The Queen demands an update. Calvora straightened, her posture shifting into royal formality. Tell her we're ready to present our findings. Sarah gathered the data, her heart hammering. They were about to propose something that had never been done in the history of either species. Something that could either save billions of lives or destroy what remained of her own. The throne room felt colder the second time. The Queen sat motionless as Sarah and Calvora presented the findings, the holographic displays painting the air with genetic sequences and probability matrices. Impossible, the Queen said when they finished. Humans cannot carry Zelveri young. We don't know that because it's never been tried. Sarah stood her ground. Every piece of data suggests viability. The protein compatibility, the hormone receptors, the gestational timeline, and, if the embryo rejects the human carrier, we monitor constantly. Any sign of incompatibility, we terminate and try alternative approaches. The Queen's frill expanded fully, deep crimson shot through with black. You speak of my grandchild as an experiment. I speak of them as a possibility. Sarah's voice didn't waver. Right now they don't exist. This gives them a chance to exist. Isn't that worth the attempt? Calvora stepped forward. Mother, I've made my decision. Dr. Chen will carry my child. The chamber went silent. Guards shifted, hands moving to weapons. The Queen rose slowly, her full height dominating the space. You would stake our entire bloodline on this human's theory? The alternative is certainty of failure. The princess's voice carried steel. I'm done accepting failure. Sarah felt the weight of that ancient gaze, measuring, calculating, judging. If you fail, the Queen said quietly, if this human dies carrying Zelveri young, the diplomatic consequences will be catastrophic. If we don't try, Calvora countered, the consequences are war. Then the Queen's frill slowly contracted, fading to deep purple. Begin preparations.
You have 4 months.
She focused on Sarah. Save my daughter's line, human, and you'll have the gratitude of an empire. Fail and I won't fail. Sarah bowed her head, showing respect without submission. Thank you, Your Majesty. As they left the throne room, Sarah felt Calvora's hand briefly touch her shoulder. Gratitude, solidarity, terror, all compressed into that single contact. They had 4 months to achieve the impossible. The work began immediately. The first implantation attempt failed after 3 weeks. Sarah's body rejected the embryo despite hormone supplements and immune modulators. The second attempt lasted 31 days before spontaneous termination. Calvora blamed herself. Sarah blamed the science. They both returned to the data, searching for variables they'd missed. Your progesterone receptors aren't binding efficiently, Calvora said during the 3rd week of analysis. She had moved into the lab permanently, sleeping on a cot beside Sarah's. We need a different hormone analog, or a different delivery method. Sarah pulled up pharmacokinetic models. What if we're flooding the system when we need sustained, localized release? They developed a subcutaneous implant that released hormones in response to embryonic chemical signals. The 3rd attempt made it to 45 days. Sarah felt it fail. A cramping sensation, then bleeding, then emptiness. Calvora found her in the medical bay afterward, staring at the ceiling. "I'm sorry," the princess said. "Don't be. We're learning." Sarah sat up, ignoring the ache. "Every failure tells us something new." The embryo attached this time. It just couldn't maintain. "We have 6 weeks until the council meets. Then we have time for one more attempt." Sarah stood, steadying herself against the bed. "And this time, I think I know what we're missing." She'd been studying Zelveri maternal physiology obsessively. There was something in the data, a bioelectric field that mothers generated during pregnancy, subtle but measurable. It regulated fetal development, synchronized cellular division, maintained chemical balance. "We need to replicate your bioelectric signature," Sarah said, pulling up the relevant scans. "My body's trying to host the embryo, but it's not getting the environmental signals it expects. It's like trying to grow a plant without the right light spectrum. We'd need specialized equipment, technology that doesn't exist. Then we build it. A wearable generator that produces your exact bioelectric pattern. If I'm wearing it constantly, my body becomes the right environment." They worked for 60 hours straight. Sarah's human engineering expertise combined with Calvora's understanding of Zelveri biology. The device was crude, a belt with 7 nodes that pressed against Sarah's abdomen, but the field measurements matched. "This could work," Calvora said, her frill bright yellow. "This could actually work." The 4th implantation took place 42 days before the council meeting. Sarah wore the bioelectric generator continuously. The hormone implant was refined. The immune modulators were precisely calibrated. Every variable they could control was optimized. On day 10, the embryo's heartbeat appeared on the ultrasound. Calvora's hand found Sarah's, squeezing tight. Day 20. The embryo showed normal development. Sarah's body accepted the pregnancy. Day 30. First neural activity detected. Sarah felt movement, tiny, impossible, miraculous. "Talk to them," Calvora whispered during a monitoring session. "Let them hear your voice." "Hey there, little one. You're making history." "No pressure." "Woo!" Calvora's laugh was soft and broken. "Thank you. For this. For all of it. Thank me when they're born." But day 36 brought complications. Sarah's blood pressure spiked. The bioelectric generator started causing skin irritation. Protein showed up in her urine. Early signs of preeclampsia. "We need to adjust the field strength," Sarah said, trying to stay calm while her vitals alarmed. "My body's reacting to prolonged exposure." But every adjustment that helped Sarah's symptoms stressed the embryo. They were trapped in a balancing act, Sarah's health versus the pregnancy's viability. "Take it off," Calvora said finally. "We'll find another way." There is no other way. Sarah's hands stayed on the generator belt. "We're so close. Just a few more weeks. Not at the cost of your life. My life, my choice." Sarah met her eyes. "Besides, human women deal with preeclampsia all the time. We monitor, we manage, we make it work." The royal physicians descended on them, Zelveri medical technology combining with human obstetric protocols. Sarah spent the next week in the medical bay, hooked to monitors that tracked every heartbeat, every blood pressure fluctuation, every chemical shift. The succession council meeting loomed 5 days away. Day 41, Sarah's kidneys started struggling. The physicians wanted to terminate. Sarah refused. Calvora stood between them and the medical equipment, her royal authority absolute. She said no. Day 43. Sarah's vision blurred from the blood pressure medication. The embryo measured small but viable. So close. They were so close. The Queen visited on day 44. "You're dying for my grandchild," she said, standing beside Sarah's bed. "Not dying."
"Struggling. There's a difference."
Sarah managed a weak smile. "Besides, I've got excellent doctors." The Queen's frill showed colors Sarah had never seen. Complex, shifting, impossible to interpret. "My daughter has found something I thought lost to her. Hope, purpose." The Queen's voice was quiet. "You gave her that. She gave it to herself. I just provided the science." "No." The Queen's massive hand hovered over Sarah's, not quite touching. "You provided belief. That is rarer than science." On the day of the succession council, Sarah was 67 days pregnant. The baby, they'd started calling them that, not embryo, not fetus, but baby, measured perfectly. Sarah's blood pressure was controlled with medication. Her kidneys were holding. She was swollen and exhausted and had never been more certain of anything in her life. Calvora appeared in the medical bay dressed in ceremonial armor, her scales polished to mirror brightness. "You're presenting today," Sarah said. "We're presenting." Calvora helped her sit up. "The council needs to see you, to understand what you've sacrificed." Sarah let them dress her in human formal clothes adapted for her current state. The bioelectric generator was hidden under layers of fabric, its quiet hum her constant companion. The council chamber held 50 Zelvari nobles, all radiating skepticism and political calculation. Sarah stood beside Calvora's chair, feeling dizzy but determined. Thelvik, the cousin who would inherit without an heir, stepped forward. His frill was aggressive red. "This is a farce. A human carrying Zelvari young? Impossible. A desperate lie from a desperate princess." Calvora rose. "Dr. Chen, if you would." They'd prepared for this. She lifted her shirt, revealing her swollen abdomen. The ultrasound technician activated the holographic display. The baby appeared above them, 3 meters tall and perfect. Heart beating, limbs moving. Undeniably alive. Undeniably Zelvari. The chamber went silent. 67 days gestation, Calvora announced. Viable. Thelvik's frill drained of color. "This proves nothing. It could die tomorrow. It won't." Sarah's voice cut through his protest. "Because I won't let it. And neither will your princess. We've come too far to fail now." The council deliberated for 3 hours. Sarah sat in an antechamber, feeling the baby kick, thinking about the impossibility of what they'd achieved. When the council doors opened, Calvora emerged. Her frill was brilliant gold. "They ruled in our favor. The succession is secure." She knelt beside Sarah's chair. "You did it. We did it. We're not done yet. Still gotta get him born." "We will." Calvora's hand finally touched hers, warm and careful, together. The next 48 days were a careful balance of medical monitoring and political maneuvering. Sarah's body struggled with the foreign biology growing inside her, but the team of human and Zelvari physicians managed each crisis as it emerged. Calvora never left her side except when royal duties demanded it. On day 112, Sarah's water broke during a state dinner. Calvora abandoned the assembled diplomats without a word, running through corridors to reach the medical bay. Labor lasted 16 hours. Human and Zelvari physiologies weren't designed for this. Sarah's body fought the process even as she pushed, her human reflexes at war with alien biology. The pain was beyond anything she'd anticipated. "Something's wrong," one physician said. "The birth canal isn't dilating correctly." "Then help it," Calvora snapped. "Whatever you need to do, do it." The world narrowed to pain and determination and the absolute need to finish this. "One more push," someone said. Sarah pushed. The sound of crying filled the room, high-pitched, alien, beautiful. The physicians moved in organized chaos, checking vitals, clearing airways, performing assessments. "Healthy," the lead physician announced.
Full term.
"Perfect." The princess stared down at her daughter, their daughter, with an expression of pure wonder. "She's perfect," Calvora whispered. "Let me see." Sarah's voice was weak, but Calvora brought the baby close. Small scales, already showing iridescent color. 4 tiny claws on each hand. Eyes that tracked movement with alert intelligence. Completely alien. Absolutely perfect. "What will you name her?" Sarah asked. Calvora looked up, tears streaming down her scaled face. "Sarovara. It means bridge between stars in Old Zelvari. Because she is, and so are you." Sarah touched one tiny claw, felt it wrap around her finger. The baby quieted, seeming to recognize her. "Hey there, little bridge," Sarah murmured. "Welcome to the universe." The queen arrived an hour later. She approached the bassinet slowly, her massive frame somehow gentle. When she looked at her granddaughter, her frill showed every color at once: joy, relief, pride, love. "You have saved more than my line, human." The queen's voice was thick. "You have saved my daughter from a grief that was destroying her." Sarah watched Calvora holding Sarovara, singing in liquid Zelvari, completely transformed from the broken princess she'd met 3 months ago. "She saved herself," Sarah said. "I just provided the biology." No, the queen's eyes met hers. "You provided hope." And sometimes that is the only biology that matters. Sarah stayed for 6 weeks postpartum, recovering and helping establish feeding and care routines. Saravara thrived, growing rapidly, her personality emerging, curious, determined, fearless. Kalvora was a natural mother, attentive and devoted, but she still needed Sarah's help navigating the medical complexities. On the day Sarah was cleared to return to Earth, Kalvora found her packing in the quarters she'd been given. "You don't have to leave," the princess said. "You could stay, help me raise her. She knows you, she calms when you hold her." Sarah paused, a shirt half folded in her hands. The offer was tempting. She'd become attached to the baby, to this world, to Kalvora's quiet strength and sharp mind. "She needs to know you," Sarah said gently. "Not depend on me. This is your victory, Kalvora. Your family, I was just the incubator. You were never just anything." Kalvora's frill showed deep blue, sadness, but acceptance. "Will you come back? Visit? Try to stop me." Sarah smiled. "I want to see what she becomes, who she becomes." They brought Saravara to say goodbye. The baby was asleep, her tiny chest rising and falling with perfect rhythm. Sarah kissed her scaled forehead, breathing in that unique scent of alien biology and new life. "Grow strong, little bridge," she whispered. "Make us proud." The Queen granted Sarah full diplomatic immunity and a formal title, Matriarch of the Bridge. It came with honors, land rights, and an open invitation to return to the Zelvari homeworld whenever she wished. "You gave my daughter back her future," the Queen said during the farewell ceremony. "The Empire will not forget." Sarah boarded the transport ship feeling lighter than she had in months. The pregnancy weight was gone. The medical crisis was over. Saravara was healthy and loved, and would grow up never knowing she'd been called impossible. But as the ship lifted off, Sarah felt the absence, the quiet space where a heartbeat used to echo inside her chest. She'd carried another species' child, given another mother the gift biology had denied her, and somehow in the process healed something in herself she hadn't known was broken. Her communicator chimed. A message from Kalvora, a photo of Saravara, awake and alert, her tiny hand reaching toward the camera. "She's looking for you," the text read. "Come back soon." Sarah saved the image, holding it like a promise. She'd go home. Rest. Write the research papers that would revolutionize cross-species medicine. But she'd come back. Because Saravara was right. Some bridges, once built, were meant to be crossed again and again. The transport entered FTL, stars streaking past the viewports. Sarah closed her eyes and felt the echo of that tiny heartbeat, the memory of impossible hope made real. They'd called Kalvora barren. They'd called the pregnancy impossible. They'd called Sarah reckless for trying. They'd all been wrong. And somewhere on a distant world, a baby princess slept in her mother's arms, living proof that the space between impossible and inevitable was just wide enough for someone brave enough to stand in the gap. Sarah smiled and let herself rest, knowing she'd helped build something that would outlast them all. A bridge between species, between hope and reality, between what was and what could be. The universe was vast and strange and full of impossible things waiting to become real. She'd just proven it.